Thanks for staying with us. Still plenty to come on the show too, but it's time to turn our attention to harness racing. Got a very special guest in the studio with us. Well, two special guests,
we have indeed,
really.
yeah.
But Barbara Scott, of course, is the chair of harness racing. Barb, how are you?
Good, thank you.
And of course, Libby Hopwood, our horse expert.
Resident horse expert. Need to make it easy for you guys to follow.
All right, yes.
We haven't seen Libby for a long time, and I've never seen Barb before. But I'm excited about seeing both because as the first female chair in the country, not just the state.
Not just across harness racing either, across all three of the racing disciplines.
Okay.
She's the first female to chair it.
A great honour. Just take us through the story, because obviously there's a big story before you get to that position.
Yeah, for sure. So probably got involved in the sport through marriage. I married a horse trainer. I'm originally from New South Wales, and learned a lot of the training side of harness racing. He's now my former husband, so we were divorced, and I wanted to remain in the sport. It's a sport that I love. And so back in 2006, I became a cadet steward. Okay. So, one of the oldest cadet stewards around, I think, but realised I had to start at the bottom in stewarding and work my way up. So I was with Harness Racing New South Wales for about 10 years, and then saw the opportunity to come to South Australia as the chief steward, and was lucky enough to be given the job.
All right, let's talk about chief steward. You've been at it for a while. You said cadet to chief. What's the funniest thing that's happened in the steward?
Some funny things I suppose you can't talk about, but
well, give us one you can talk about then.
Yeah, things go on in races that look quite funny. People's gear breaks. We had one incident where a seat broke.
No fun.
A seat broke off a sulky, and so it was a rather uncomfortable drive for that person for the rest of the race. It's fun if it's harmless. So,
it's a big job too, though, in South Australia at the moment. I'm not sure how they go the eastern states at the moment, but obviously harness racing in this state needs a bit of love, needs a bit of care, and needs a bit of leadership. And I guess that's, some of the qualities you need to bring to the sport.
Yeah, I thought I had something to offer South Australia, having been in New South Wales through times of quite turbulence, and how they address that turbulence and move forward with the sport. New South Wales has the highest prize money of harness racing in Australia, and so we're obviously doing a lot of things right. So, I thought I could offer South Australia some things, and since I've been here, I've got a very supportive board and management, and we've been able to implement quite a few things, and I think we're on the way up.
Sport's pretty diverse in South Australia. A lot of kids across a whole range of sports. How do you attract a younger driver to your sport?
Look, I think it's difficult in any sport to get the new people involved, and it's not only young people. We're happy to take older people into the sport, but it's getting new participants. We have something called pony trots, which is for 6 to 16-year-olds. They're able to participate in smaller versions of harness racing, and that's sort of like a breeding ground for us. And we develop some pathways for those kids to come from the pony trots into the fully licensed harness racing. Once they are licensed, we have some mentoring sessions that we conduct. So sessions with the stewards to talk about rules and policies, how to lodge a protest, something as simple as that.
So it's essentially like an apprenticeship for these younger drivers.
It is, yeah. We also have some of our senior drivers come and personally mentor the young kids, talk to them about decisions they've made in races, good decisions, bad decisions, giving them that immediate feedback. And we have some formal sessions where we talk to the new participants about their conduct, dealing with the media, handling pressure, all those kind of things.
Libby, is it the same sort of transition into thoroughbred racing? I know a lot of jockeys, I guess, get involved strictly because of their size, and it's just complements an opportunity.
Yeah, it really is, but it sounds like it's the same sort of program as you have, but it's a bit more structured and a bit more professional in the sense that we are given an apprenticeship and we need to fulfil certain criteria and able to be labelled a senior jockey. But it's very much the same journey as a young rider. You do the same sorts of things. You go in to see the stewards, you talk to older riders that you get mentored through, you discuss right and wrong decisions that you make in a race. So it's exactly the same sort of program, but we're doing it for 4 years, and you must tick off certain criteria to become a senior.
I think too in most sports, and I reckon this is, I'm not here to damn harness racing in any way because I love the sport, but I think the heroes are a really important part for getting people involved in whatever capacity, whether it's a sponsor, whether it's a spectator, whether it's one that wants to be intimately involved in it. And harness racing probably needs that, especially in this state. It probably needs it around the country because the justices and these sort of people have moved on. I'm not sure whether or not their shoes have been filled.
Yeah, well, at the moment we have a lady driver, Danny Hill. She recently received the Tanya Dender Award for courage. Danny suffered horrific injuries in a race fall in 2010. And has shown an enormous amount of courage to come back from that and be successful, and she's our leading driver at the moment.
In fact, is there in recent years more women being involved? Because I know more women tend to be winning races. So my theory of not backing women has actually changed dramatically in the last 2 years.
Well, if you're not backing Danny, you're losing.
I am losing, big time. Yeah, but it's amazing, isn't it?
Don't be surprised by that, Barbie. Loses all the time.
No, I lose on the blokes as well.
Racing is catching up with women, though. You see more women drivers, more women riders, and we now have the first female chair across all three disciplines of the sport.
And do you see that, helicopter view of the industry? Do you see the women coming through?
For sure, but I think that's in society in general and all sports is that there's just more involvement of women and
getting rid of the blokey mentality.
Yeah, and they're able to compete on equal terms and be very successful.
One of the things that's always around, whether it be horse racing, harness racing, the integrity of the sport with the betting. How difficult to stay on top of that?
Yeah, look, it's a full-time job. We do a lot of analysis of betting on race day, so obviously it's important to us if we see prices shifting in the market. We do a lot of analysis after race day, just looking at where the money is, is that an unusual betting pattern, and then if necessary looking further into the race.
Who can actually bet though? I mean, on track day, the drivers can't bet, the trainers can't bet?
The drivers can't bet in a race in which they participate. So if they're not having a drive in the race, they can bet. The trainers can bet, yes, they can.
What about the chief? The
No,
chief?
stewards are not allowed to
Stewards
bet.
not allowed to?
Yeah.
So she'd have a heap of money.
Yeah, you got plenty.
And Phil's very good at this, at going into an organisation, having a look and realising that the synergies between the different levels, whether it's from the top to the bottom, from the farrier to the chief steward, they all need to be singing the same song. If you're not, that clunkiness affects the business. Is there some improvement there in Harness Racing SA? And I guess what are maybe 1, 2, 3 obvious improvements you see?
Yeah, look, I think for any business or code or sport to be successful, you've all got to be singing off the same hymn page, you've all got to be working towards the same goals. Recently, Harness Racing SA had a strategic planning day, so looking at our next 5 years and what goals we want to achieve and how we get there, and I think that's a good start. So we're all the management were at that meeting, so we all know where we're headed. There's some good things coming for harness racing in South Australia. There's some financial pressures being relieved later on this year and next year. And, that brings about the opportunity to increase prize money, which, we would hope would attract more people into the sport.
The 9th of January is the biggest event really for harness racing. We've got some footage here of that. How was that event?
That was South Australian Cup night, fantastic night of racing. We had 3 group races on that night. The South Australian Cup was won by Flaming Flutter, which is trained by Jeff Webster, who's an ex-South Australian, and driven by Greg Sugars, who's an ex-South Australian.
Used to work with Jeff a bit, actually. He's a good bloke.
So they're both now based in Victoria. So fantastic to see those people returning to their home state and having some success.
Is that the biggest crowd drawer for harness racing for the year?
It is, yeah. It's, as I said, there's 3 group races on that night. There's a lot of interest. Our other well-supported race meeting is our Southern Cross Nights, which is our juvenile racing, and that's around August.
All right, Barbara Scott, the first female chair of harness racing and any racing across Australia, was our special guest. Stay with us, still plenty to come.
Gone. Done.
Whew.